So we discussed about type of tables inside where I am writing. We discussed about type of tables, and then inside this we have internal, that we say manage tables, and then external tables, and then temporary tables, that is session oriented, right? And after that, table creation with proper delimiter when loading the data from file. Condition is there. From file. Otherwise, I will not be able to understand that what kind of file it is, what kind of data, what is the delimiter, and that will be returning as null. If you are loading from table to table, then it is fine. But again, let's say you are having a staging table and you are loading from staging table to main table. Of course, delimiter doesn't matter. Whatever, if you are creating table without delimiter also, it is fine. But what you want to return as a file, because whatever you are loading in the table, that is okay. Either you are loading from local file system or Hadoop file system in Hadoop path, that is fine. But finally, maybe you want to store the data as RC, ORC, Parquet. Multiple file formats are there for the optimizations also that supports, and for another purposes as well. So what kind of file formats you wanted to return as output? In that case, you have to provide that delimiter as well, like input format and output format. So yesterday we seen about input format. In file format delimited fields terminated by comma or pipe, or it is whatever it is. Let's say that you are having input file and that is CSV only, but output you want to store as Parquet or ORC. In that case, you have to mention that is stored as ORC, stored as Parquet. So it will take care for input as well. It will load the data, and finally it will be returning the data, output data, into that format in HDFS location. Okay, so let me go to this document. And here you can see this is our creating the and again table with location. I believe that this one you had tried. If not, you can try out. And in whenever we were discussing about table with location, then I hope you were sure that in external table you can create the table by giving the location, and if data is available, file is available to that location, no need to load the data. It will be automatically read all the files from that location. Okay, now coming to delimiter. So for delimiter, here you can see location. Here you can see for the JSON, row format, Survey, ORG, Apache, Hive catalog data, JSON Survey location. This is the JSON data. Okay. Similarly, you have for another formats, and that is for reading ORC data. Let's say you are having ORC data in your source path, then you can give okay, this is stored as ORC. Stored as ORC in the sense you want to store the data as ORC. Then inserting ORC data, here you are doing insert ORC table. Okay. And then create a table with ORC and stored as ORC. Okay. So if you will follow this one, what this will do, here we are not providing the input file formats and all, right? If you have, you can provide whatever format it is. Or if you load the data and you are saying stored as ORC, then maybe you are loading CSV data only, but output will be as ORC. Output will be returned if you are going to HDFS path, it will be returned as the given format. Here for the Parquet, you have to return as Parquet, stored as Parquet. For another formats, like you are having RC, ORC, sequential, XML, JSON. So whatever you have here, you want to store as text file only by default. This is the default file format. So you can give that. Here what I am giving, create table, row format Survey means input Survey is this, and output is this. That means input file is JSON and output file I want to return as text file. Here in this example, you can see row format JSON survey and no output format. So output will be by default text. If you are not mentioning anything, then by default output format will be text file format only. But in real time, if we mention, most of the time you will be having ORC or Parquet. If you have no different requirement, otherwise it can be Auro as well, Auro, RC, sequential and all. So here I have given for different file formats. Okay. And then we have some file formats. So let's quickly walk through about that. Then we will go through the practicals. In the meantime, let me start the services from here. So it will get started and let it start. Here we have text file format, CSV, JSON, XML, sequence, Auro, Parquet, RC, and ORC. These are some Hadoop files which is for different purpose, including default one, and everyone is having some pros and cons. So if we talk about text file, that is the default one. If you are not giving anything, then it is returning text for the input also and for the output also. So format is unstructured plain text and common for simple data storage, logs, configuration file. This is easy to create and read and human readable, and cons is lack of structure makes data processing harder, not space sufficient. Okay, sorry, efficient. And then you have CSV file. So for CSV file, this is structured tabular data with row and columns, and it is widely used for data exchange. Most of the time you will be seeing input files coming as CSV from most of the sources. Either it can be XML, JSON, or otherwise it will be most probably CSV file, text file, like spreadsheets and databases, database data and all. Pros, this is simple and widely supported, easy to use with the tabular data, but it is having a limitation for the structure and no support for hierarchical data. If you have some relation, you can't maintain that relation with like we do in XML and JSONs. And again, this is not compressed. So suppose your source data is coming with 1 GB or 2 GB, then you are also going to process the same amount of data. Then you are having JSON files. JSON file and XML file is not properly for the Hadoop file formats. Just I have mentioned here additionally. These are the file formats which you are going to experience most of the time from the source. Let's say you are having web API, webs, multiple different apps are there, different sources like sensors and all. They are generating unstructured kind of data, right? So this XML and JSON formats is hierarchical and semi-structured data, and web API configuration files data interchange. That kind of data will be generating mostly these kind of file formats. Again, based upon configuration only because program has been done accordingly. And pros is it's human readable, supports nested structure as well. If you have like JSON supports hierarchy. So in that hierarchy, you can have siblings nodes, parent nodes, children, grandchildren, and all, and it is widely used in web applications. So if you are getting data from those kind of sources, then most of the time your data will be JSON. Cons, this is less efficient for large data sets because it can make your structure too much complex. Parsing can be slower compared to binary formats. Whenever you are going to parse the JSON, this is really good, and you are having lots of APIs available to parse that, but you may face some challenges because it can be slow or it can be a bit complex. Then for XML file, this is again same, which is supporting hierarchy just like JSON and supports complex structure. And use-wise, it is for the data interchange, configuration, document storage, and this one also like JSON, it is flexible, supporting the complex structure and data validations via schema. It is also having some issues. Verbose can be slow to parse and more complex to work while compared to JSON. Just a question. Any one of you Have you worked with XML or JSON or both of this?
I have worked with JSON almost for a complete project.
And XML?
No XML, basically not data files, but we used to store kind of, suppose we are doing something, writing a Airflow script or Composer script. We
Hmm.
the metadata we store in XML. I am not sure how it is going to impact. We can even store in JSON also, but we store in XML all the data files, all the details like metadata, path.
So anytime did you try to read the XML in your project?
Yeah, we read that through Python script.
What is the differences you face if you are comparing with JSON? Which was one easy and better?
I think JSON is easy.
Correct. That is having more complexity than XML. So most of the time in the project, I have seen that
Yeah,
people
that's
may
why most of the,
convert XML to JSON.
yes, yes. Even I am not sure why they are using XML, but as it is
No,
standard.
why not they are using? That is coming from the source. Most of the time, but if you are creating XML and if you are storing into the XML, then maybe there is some requirement, means whatever you are doing, your system is compatible with that, or maybe some requirement which is better with the
Yes, yes.
XML. Maybe something can be there, because if someone has designed, then of course they are not dumb, right? They have they have think something.
Yeah, yeah. So most of the time, JSON we worked with, it's kind of, as you said, it's a sensor data for the us. It is IoT device. The
Mhm.
data they are generating, the events, most of the time it comes as a JSON, and it is
Yes.
very easy to basically go to the hierarchy level. And
Event data, click stream data, and all, it will be mostly, until unless in between someone is doing manipulation, data will be coming as in JSON format
yes,
only.
yes, yeah.
Okay, and then we have sequence file. This is the file Hadoop file format, one of the Hadoop file format. So this is binary format, not human readable, and efficient for key value pairs. If you have some data where you are maintaining key value pair, then it is good. And Hadoop may produce input output format. In Hadoop also, you know that whenever it is working with map produce, it is working with key value pair only, right? It is converting all the data to key value pair, and then it is working with the final output. Crosswise, it is efficient for storing large amount of data, of key value data, and support compression. And cons, non-human readable, requires Hadoop libraries to process. If you have the sequence file and you have created the table with sequence input or output, then you need the library. Then you have Auro and Parquet along with ORC and RC. So these files are there which you may get use in the real time. Okay, mostly ORC and Parquet. Most of the time means more than Auro as well. And CSV anyway, let's not talk about that because that is the default, and most of the time that is also coming from the source. And XML JSON also, as we discussed, it is coming from most of the sources, so we have to process that. And again, XML and JSON is not part of Hadoop file format. Again, I am repeating. I have just mentioned here for reference to discuss. So this Auro file. This is binary supports schema evaluation and data serialization, especially in Hadoop ecosystem. This is in use. Crosswise, compact, faster, supporting schema changes without needing the rewriting the old data. Let's say you have the data. Most of the time, this gets used for the schema. You may have seen. I'm not sure if you have that kind of requirement. Till that time or not, maybe in future you can get some of the time you are getting the source data, or maybe you are getting the you are generating the data, and that is having a schema as well. So you can keep the schema in Auro, and if that is the case, then if your file format is enabled with Auro, then you can change the schema even without touching the data. Data will be one side and the schema will be separate, and you can maintain the schema separately. Conswise requires schema for read and write operation. Schema is required, then only it will be reading and writing the data, and non-human readable. Then Parquet file. This is mostly used, widely used either in Hadoop or Spark side. Not only Hadoop and Spark, it is limited to even with another applications as well, another platforms and all. Because this is lightweight and good to read and write both. Format wise, it is columnar, optimized for read heavy operation. Most of the time, when you are dealing with the terabytes and petabytes of data, then you are going for bulk means a heavy read, heavy write, right? So whenever you have requirement where you have the plan to heavy read uh, data performing this heavy operation, and as this is columnar file format, this will be much optimized and this will be working very smoothly. This is for big data processing, especially in the data warehousing. This is in use a lot. It is efficient for read performance, good for analytical queries, and supporting complex nested structure. That is again one better thing about it, but it is having issue with slower write performance. If you are writing also the same amount of data, maybe that is not performing in the same way how it was performing for the read operations, and more complex to implement. But internally, syntax wise, no, you are just going to give the uh, package detail, like how it is going to read and how it is going to write, like format. Then ORC file. ORC file is a much optimized file for Hadoop, and this file was mostly implemented for Hadoop and Hive only, because we are going to deal with the petabytes and petabytes of data. So in that case, if you are storing the data with the same volume, then it is going to take that much volume with the three replica, with all the blocks and all maintaining the metadata. Then you can assume, let's say you got 1 terabyte of data, then this is going to maintain 3 terabyte of data with replication, and that will be again one issue with your cluster itself, because that needs that much space. If you are going for VRC, everyone which is supporting compression, that will be reducing the file size. Let's say Parquet, this is also reducing the file size, Auro, Sequence and all. But ORC reduce the file size almost up to 75%. 75% means, let's say your file is 1 terabyte, then it is just 25% you can take the calculation. And now you can assume, if it will be doing the replication also, then also it will be not reaching 1 terabyte, right? It will be 0.75 only, even after doing the replica. So you can assume now that it is saving lots of space. And it is for good for Hive read and write both. So in Hive, if you are working with the Hive, most of the time you will be getting this ORC file format in practical, means practically you will be seeing in the use. So this also format wise, it's columnar, high compression and performance. So this high compression is the better part of it. Either you are working with on-premise or you are working with cloud. Let's say on-premise you are having high requirement. Recommendation is to go with ORC. If you are working with cloud, and let's say Azure, your project is running with HD Insights, where you are working with some Hadoop stacks, or you are working with AWS and you are working with EMR services and all, where you have enabled Hive, then you can choose ORC. That will be saving a space also, it will be optimized, and it will be making your processing also faster because of this. And usage wise, big data processing, of course, this compression was mostly focused for big data amount only. So usage wise for big data processing, and especially for data warehousing, because data warehousing means what? You are getting a lot of data with different format, different structures from the source, and at the end of the day, data will be a lot. Of course, you need the optimizations and all, right? So in that case we go. So here, if you see big data processing, data warehousing, Hive data storage format. So whenever you are storing the data with your warehousing, let's say your data lake is HDFS itself. Anyways, whenever you are creating the table with Hive, then by default your backend location is HDFS only, right? And then HDFS you are going to store the data. Either you are storing with any of the file format, it will be okay, but according to the file formats, this compression will be applicable. So for Hive data storage format, in the sense you are storing the data while you are creating the table, like let's say row format delimited, fields terminated by CSV, comma separated, and stored as ORC. So whenever you are doing stored as ORC, then you are reading the data from CSV and writing the data as ORC. Let's say here I am writing the syntax. Create table, table name, and your schema. Schema is, let's say, ID int and name string, and assume that your file format is CSV, which is coming from source. Then row format, delimited fields terminated by CSV, and then stored as. You wanted to store as ORC. Then it will be reading your CSV data and it will be returning the output file format as ORC. So this is Hive data storage format. Then it is Hive. Yeah,
Sorry to
go
interrupt.
ahead.
Just a question. I'm very new to this high one. So if you don't mention anything, as it is mentioned as high data storage format, if you are
Mhm.
creating a table, you are not mentioning anything that what format it is going to store it. So by default, which format it is going to take?
Text, text.
Text. Okay.
Yeah. For input also, for output also.
Then why what is called a high storage format? Means in which terminology? How it is related to Hive?
Can you please repeat your question again?
So can you please go to the notepad? You have mentioned there, sorry, in the here in the presentation PPT, that it is mentioned as ORC is a Hive storage format. What do
Mhm.
you mean by that?
Okay,
Hive
sorry.
data.
Maybe no. Don't take it in another way. Okay, this is only for this line, particular line, that big data processing and Hive data storage format means for storing purpose. Let's say a storing means mostly ORC is used for storing purpose only. Reading wise, you do not have control. Maybe your input file format can be anything. Let's say it is JSON only. It is complex XML only. Okay, even I will revise this line. I feel that this may confused. Okay, so your input file can be anything. By this line, I only intend that for storage format means most of the time in real time practically you are going to use that for storing means here I have mentioned the command stored as, right? So this is most practical. This line
Mm,
for ORC
yeah, so
because
most of the
your
practical
input
uses you
data
are
can
going to
be 1
store it as
GB.
ORC. Yeah,
Ah,
got it.
correct. Let's say your input is 1 GB, this CSV file. Okay. But you want to, if you will store in the same way or you are not giving anything, then your output also will be in HDFS 1 GB only, but you want to compress. So here, if you apply this, then it will be 0.25 MB, 0.25 GB. Okay. So now this got reduced, right? Output file, output format. Up to 75% it will do the compression. So this is mostly for storage. If you have already input format also oversee, then you are going to do it. Otherwise, in the Hive, most of the time, whatever our source is, doesn't matter. We will be reading the source, but storage wise, we will be preferring the ORC. So that is only meant for that syntax. Uh, okay.
Got it, clear.
Okay, and then crosswise, this is having high compression if you compare to any of the file, efficient read and write performance, and supporting complex data types. Complex data types in the sense like you have map array and all. Then cons less widespread support compared to Parquet and more complex to implement. That is the reason you can say that okay, this is much compressed. Then why Parquet is in use? Right, because maybe of course Parquet is not compressed the edge verse, but that is having its own pros. It is having its own pros, and that's why in Spark and all also Parquet is widely used. So that is having, and here I have mentioned already less words spread support compared to Parquet. Parquet is having means Parquet package you will be seeing available in most of the platform, most of the APIs, and good AEG connect with almost all. I have seen so far. I did not see anything where Parquet is not getting supported or we have issue to connect with that or read or write. So that is not like that. It is having good support. That's why Parquet is more in use. And again, it is having some other structure and storage internally. That is also benefiting in that own way, and more complex to implement. And RC file. So RC file is record columnar. You can compare RC and ORC. First RC had come in the picture, then community tried to make it optimized and make it better to get the better performance. Then it was introduced to ORC. So format again, this is also columnar. If you compare with this, and it splits data into columns for efficient processing, and it is again Hadoop based data processing and data warehousing. It is also having good compression, efficient for read heavy operations, and improves input and output performance both if you are using RC file, and slower with performance, less flexible if you have some other columnar formats like Parquet and ORC. It will be having some less. So when it was introduced to ORC and then Parquet, then why you will be using the any file format which is not having all the supports, right? Which is better, you are going to choose that. So if anyone has to choose, then they will prefer ORC, they will prefer Parquet. So this will be less in use because of this drawback. So these are some high file formats. If you are going for the interview, this can be the question that what kind of file formats you have worked so far. So that means they are trying to understand what kind of Hadoop file formats, because these file formats are not for Hadoop only. These file formats are for your clouds and all as well. Because cloud is just a platform where you are going to do the processing, but most of the time architecture wise, processing wise, multiple things are completely same. You are going to implement the same, like Parquet you are using on premise, also you are going to use cloud also, ORC you can use here also, you can use there also, so there is no difference. So that time you have to explain about all the file formats where you can go with all like text, CSV, not XML and JSON. That is not Hadoop file format. You can tell that as an input file format or output file format. You have worked with that. Then RC, ORC, Parquet, sequence, you can explain about that. And then you can have a question, difference between ORC and Parquet, or Auro file format. What is difference between Auro and ORC, or Auro and Parquet, and with which condition which file is good to use. So that kind of question may arise, and you should go through that. So just have a quick walkthrough and have understanding. Then this is the main part in Hive, partitions, and then we have bucketing. So partitions and bucketing, this is a kind of optimization and functionality in Hive. Okay. Uh, and this is supporting Hive to perform in better way. How better way? Let's say you are having 10 GB of data, and that data contains around 200 country data. Now, once you load the data in the table and you have to read the data, you are doing select star from, and you need data only belonging to India. What it will do? It will scan the entire table, right? And then this will be providing the output. Correct. But do you need to scan all the data? No, because 10 GB data means it will be taking few minutes to scan. Even if you have good number of resources, then also that is going to take few minutes. And that is not really practical, not required. We should plan that whatever I need, let's scan that piece only and avoid scanning unnecessary data. So in that case, partition is good. This is the part of optimization where we can do the optimization for read and write both. So high partition allow us to divide a large table into smaller, more manageable parts based on the value of one or more columns. And each partition corresponds to a specific value of a column, which significantly improves query performance by reducing the amount of data read during a query. Significant and then means significantly it improves the performance, and that will be making your query to run faster. Then what is the benefit of it? It improves query performance, and query runs faster as they only scan the relevant partitions, and this is efficient for data management. Again, For data loading can handle on into specific partitions only without affecting others. Let's say you have a table already and that table is having 10 countries data available and you have separate data you got from source and that is 11th country data. Without touching your table and impacting the data, you can simply create one more partition either manually or dynamically. Of course, if that is additional, then it will be manual. You can create a partition and then you can load the data into that partition. So without impacting any others, that will be okay. Then type of partitions. You are having two types of partition, static and dynamic. Static means we manually specify the partition columns value when inserting the data, and dynamic will automatically determine the partitions based upon the value of data. So what happens? Let's assume that you have last 10 years data, 2014 to 2024. You have to load and process. You can have two conditions. One condition is you want to load 2010 to 2020 data in single partition. Why? Because you are getting that data volume is too low for these years. And in the recent years, data grown a lot. And you want to have that in the separate partition. That is one thing. Maybe that can be a use case. Or uh, out of 10 years data, means you have 10-year data to process. And that 10-year data is having multiple countries data, 100 plus countries data, but you wanted to load a few selected country data only or few selected years data only. You want to process only 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, but not prior to this. This is one thing. Or you wanted to process data for some country only, let's say India, China, Nepal, Bhutan, whatever near about countries you want to process for that, and you do not want to process for the entire data. In that case, you are choosing what you want to do. And if you want to process this now, then you have to manually specify that this is the partition and do the filter command and then load that. This will be working. But only condition is you should have proper analysis of the data because you are going to specify manually. If you will be doing wrong, Hive will also be doing wrong. Hive doesn't know what you want to do. So whatever you are doing, Hive will follow that. If you are loading wrong data, Hive will accept wrong data, and finally you will be getting wrong data as output. So you have to be very sure. Second condition is you got 10 years data and you can't create 10 partitions, or maybe there can be let's assume that you want to store the data yearly plus monthly, means in a year there will be 12 months. So for 10 years data there will be 120 partitions. All 120 partition you can't create manually and you should not. In that case, you go for the dynamic partition. In dynamic partition, you have not to do anything. Simply create the table, enable the dynamic partition and load the data. Then by default, whatever data is available at the source, it will automatically scan and it will create the partition based upon the data in the backend. Okay, so let's go with this. Practically, here I have given this static table. Table, if you go for the syntax for creation wise there is no difference. Either that is static or that is dynamic. Difference is only at the loading time. Here you can see partitioned by year, means that data is having a year column and I want to partition as year, and my data is CSV comma separated. Then loading the data. So loading the data, here I am having 2023 employee data. Okay. And then I will be I am loading local in path, then file location, then where partition equal to 23. I am manually mentioning the partition column value that this data belongs to 23. So load into year equal to 23. So I know that this data belong to 23, then it is fine. But what if I load the 23 data into year equal to 2024? Then my value is wrong. I loaded 23 data into 24th partition. That should not be. So manually your analysis should be proper. Otherwise there can be issue.
So what if
And
we don't mention anything? Or
sorry,
do we need to mention the partition? Is it mandatory? No.
right. In a static partition, yes. In dynamic partition, no.
Okay.
That's why I said in a static partition, your manual analysis should be proper because manually you are going to do. And in dynamic partition, you have to enable this property. Set Hive execution dynamic partition equal to true and set Hive exec dynamic partition mode equal to non-strict. One, these two are enabled. Then if you are applying this data load, then it will understand and it will automatically split the data according to the value. So create table. Create table you can compare. It will be completely same. There is not an issue. So here what I have tried to follow, I have created a staging table and in the staging table, I am loading the entire data, whatever I have, and then load from table to table, then dynamic, and from dynamic insert over a table, dynamic partition here. Here if you see, I am not giving partition value. I am saying only year. Then it will go and read the data and according to the data, how many years are existing in the source, it will be creating that many folders and that data will be split. So let's see this. Our cluster has started completely fine. Let me open a terminal. Hive. So if you are going for the interview, one thing is about the tables, main differences between internal and external. Then file formats, you should be aware about that because file formats is not limited to Hadoop and Hive only. You are going to use that widely in different applications, even with cloud as well. And then there can be a question what kind of optimizations you work on or you follow. Then in Hive, there is partitioning and then we have bucketing along with some other optimizations as well that will see later, okay, in the next session maybe or maybe after this, where you can do most of the optimizations and that will be making your query faster. I is done, then I will create one database, create database learning, okay, then use learning. It is done. Now I will create anyways, I have to create the data. I will create a data here and uh, mkdir Hadoop learning. And in this Hadoop learning, I will create a file, a vi mm, employee data, employee data.csv. And here I will create a 2023 data. And let's create with 3 columns. Let's say ID and name and then year 2023. Again 2222 and let's say Sam again 2023, just 2 records. And similarly, I can create 124 and then I can say again 3333 and then and then this is 2024 data and another one 2024. This
It
is
should be comma. It should be comma. I think. Put dot
but
dot.
how no, how that much data came? Let me quickly come out. How this much got copied? Not getting it. Let me delete.
You can just overwrite the file.
Yes, that's what I will do. Think some button got pressed. Okay, right? Something is happening. Maybe my keyboard is not working or what. Let it be. Don't will not take it. But I will do just cat because I simply tried to press ESC button, and while pressing ESC, somehow this is taking. But again, this is magic. How it is taking that? It should not be. It's wrong going on. Let me try one more time to see actually what is happening. 2024 enter 4444 another name 2024 ESC colon WQ. Okay, finally I think something was getting pressed. Okay, so these two data I created with separate partition. I will create one file with multiple partition. I will use that for dynamic partition. So let me create one employee data.csv, and here I will use varieties. So in that varieties, I am going to use 1111, and then let's say Amit, and year wise 2020, and then 2222, then Anu, and 2020 again, and here for third one, let's say Mohit, and 2022, and then 44, and then let's say Rohit, and this person is belonging to 2023, and fifth one we can take as Raman, and 2024. We have how many partitions? 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? 4 partitions we have. So in dynamic partition that is expected. We have 3 data created. Here we can see. Now I will go to even let me copy that to. Okay, no need to copy HDFS. You can include that in your practical. Copying this file to HDFS, then loading into the Hive table. We'll go to Hive, and here I will create one table. Create table. Table name is, let's say, EMP static. And then column name. Column name is ID int name string, and here I will give partitioned by year string, and then
But
row
will not
format.
there be a column for year?
No, here will be added as column only.
But
Uh,
it's not needed to mention in the schema.
Let me confirm from here again one more time. No, that is not required.
Okay. There is a higher date is there, na?
Yes, higher date is there, higher date is for this, and then creating this string partition by.
Year. Okay.
Um, just give me 1 minute. I will check it. Am I missing something?
Can try if it's working. Otherwise, we'll change
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that is only I'm going to do. I'm just checking something. Here I'm just checking this year and month is getting created by this higher date only, means doing substring and all. If we means we here from higher date 1 and 4th is taking as year. This in from the data we have y, right? And from 6 and 2 taking as month. This is the derivation. This is what I was checking. Okay, we'll check. Otherwise, it will fail, right? But no, this is required. Last column we take as partition. Here as of now I am taking as a string. Okay, but you take it as a proper date format. Maybe it is date or timestamp, whatever timestamp we have, you can take. As of now I am taking this, and here again row format. Most probably last column we prefer as a partition column. But that is not mandatory, because sometimes you may want to split the data based upon some other column that is not the last column. But internally, if that is the last column, then you will see the performance better than another data. Then row format delimited fields
Space between row format delimited.
terminated by this is CSV, and then uh, even you can try stored as ORC. Okay.
Is missing.
No,
Row
here space. Column repeated in partition columns. Now let me do describe table, or describe table, DESC, and employee static. Employee static. This is the partition column here, and ID, name, and year. Yeah, so here in the table creation, we are not giving this. This column is actual column name only, but internally this is getting treated as partition column.
Okay, so
Similarly,
basically, if you're using a partition column, by default it will be added to the schema at the end then.
this will be part of column only. Only data will be divided based upon that.
Okay.
Data distribution will be happening accordingly. Here I will create the table dynamic with the same syntax. There is no difference. Dynamic. Both table created. In table creation, you see there is no difference. And now I have to load the data. So for loading the data, I have to do load data. Let me create one temporary table also. From there itself, I will be loading the data. So instead of loading from the table, we can have a temporary table. Means instead of loading directly from the data, imply staging. And in staging, let me remove this partition and all. String here, also string, and row format delimited fields terminated by, and let's remove ORC. I do not want any ORC. This is my staging table. In this staging table, let me load the data, entire data. So here entire data in the sense what? Here you can see I had created 3 tables. This is 23, 24, and this is having all the data. So here I can do load data local in path, and my path is, what is the path? Let me copy the path. PWD. This is file path. And let me paste it. And then let me load all whatever file it is having into table or employee staging. So it will load all 3 files. It is saying number of files 3, right? So I gave a star. So what all files are available? All files got loaded. Let's query the data once. Select the star from employee staging. You can see this one I had created in first file. This one I had created. Okay, this one I had created in first file 2023, and this one created in fourth another file. And this file it is taken from employee.csv, which is so as of now we are having a duplicate IDs, right? Anyway, don't focus on duplicate ID. I did not have planned, otherwise I could have created with a unique ID, but let's forget for that. Now we'll load the data in both of the table. So I'm doing, let's see the syntax from here first. What is the syntax? Just give me 1 minute. Okay. So here if you see what I have given, here we have to give the details for the static partition. Okay, so let me load into that. Let me check it one more time. It is okay. And then here let's do insert into table name is employee static, and then you have to give your partition detail also. Okay. So you have both option. One is if you are loading from the path, not from the staging table, then at the time of loading, you have to give the partition detail. And if you are loading into the data, if you are loading in the table from the partition, that time you are giving the partition detail at the runtime. So here, let me go with that first, the load command, load data, local in path, because we have a local path, right? And let me copy this one only. And I will take here employee data 2023. Into table employee static, and then partition equal to. So here you have a partition, and then in bracket you have to give the value partition, and in bracket year equal to 2023. Let's load it. What is the region? No file matching. File name is wrong. .csv. Okay, this got loaded. Now let me query first, then we will verify in the table, and then I will load one from the insert table instead of this load. This is the load command. You are directly at the while you are loading from the file, then also you can specify the partition. Select star from imply static. Field with exception, malformed WRC file. Okay. Invalid PostScript. Something wrong. Okay, no issue. I will create one another table and let me remove it. I will check it later. Stored format. First, let's make it simple. This is already existing and static one. And then we'll create dynamic one. Dynamic one. That the ORC one and all we will see in another example because I have to debug that why it happened. When we have the table, then I will load again this one, static one. Partition, this got loaded. Now let me do the select start from static one. Okay, so this data is loaded. Now I will go to HDFS path. Then let me do so create table employee static one. And this is the path. Let me take this path. Go to HDFS and do this Hadoop FS ls and this path. If you see what happened in the backend, for here it has created a folder and inside the folder data is available. If I will give year equal to 2023, then inside this data should be there. Okay, you can see data is loaded. But what is the problem here? Whenever we were loading, then I know that this data is 2023. If I will be loading the wrong data in year 2023, this will be also loading the same. It will not say that this is wrong. So we have to take care. Now I will do the same from by loading the insert, doing via insert. So let me do that. Insert into table. Insert into table name, and then partition year equal to year I have to mention manually, and then select ID name year, select ID name uh, from employee staging, where year equal to 2023. So I am giving the filter 2023. So in staging table, lots of data is there. This has data for all three files, 22, 23, sorry, 23, 24, and one employee data, which is having 4 years data. So this should filter only 2023 data. I did wrong. I should have loaded 2022 data. or 24 data, difference year, but no issue, we'll see that. And here again, you can focus on it. Whenever I run any Hive query, then query ID is getting generated, this one, and the total jobs are 3, launching job out of 1, 3. Then number of reduced task is set to 0, and because there is no reducer, okay. Then starting job, this is the application URL. You can go and you can monitor the job. Then number of mapper job is 1, number of reducer job is 0. If you are giving, try to give the aggregations and all in your query and then see how many reducers are coming. So based upon the aggregations, reducers will be there. Number of reducer job will be there. Job can be only map job with 0 reducer. Job can be map and reduce, but a job can't be only reduce. Means map only job can be there, reduce only job can't be there, because reduce job is dependent upon map job. Map job should be first, that output only can be input for the reducer. Reducer can't work alone. Okay, so this data is loaded. I will again, anyways, here I will load one data 2024, and in backend we'll go here and we'll again, I did mistake. Sorry for that. This I have did wrong. Here I have given 23 and here I did 24. So what it will do? It will load 24's data in partition 23, right? So this is the wrong thing. I should have be very careful while loading. Like this is the issue in static partition. We have to make sure, but no issue. So here, let me do that again. 2023. And wrongly loaded, that is fine only. We can validate that once. And then we'll do the dynamic table. Okay, I will load one more time the good data 2023, but this wrong also will validate what wrong happened. Here, if we come and see, you can see previously only this data was there. Now this also data got inserted 000. Two things you can see here. One thing is we will see the wrong data, whatever is loaded. And another thing is file naming convention. Here it has file name as it was in source. Why? Because you loaded through file and it know the file name, what file you want to load. So it loaded the data along with the completely copying the file, including its file name. But this data is coming from the staging table, which you are loading from table to table. In that case, it doesn't know the file name details and all. So this is the by default file name from Hive, which it will be generating 000 underscore 0, then underscore 1, then underscore 2. Now you can assume in which condition underscore 1 will come, underscore 2 will come. Can anyone reply? When underscore 1 and 2 will come?
Maybe once we load another partition data.
No. Anyone else? Okay, so we know that in HDFS, it follow the process for block size, right? By default, let's say 126 MB, sorry, 128 MB is the block size. In that case, if your file is up to block size, then that will be 1. Let's say underscore 0. Once your file is reaching more than that in the size, then it will be having another block, then one more block it can be. So for that there will be multiple separate. Let's say you are working with 1 GB file. All 1 GB file will not be with underscore 0 only. You can try out with a bigger file. Okay. So here if you see, you are having underscore 0 one file because we had less data. Let now assume that your data size was big. You are having thousand of records, and that is size wise it is more than one block size. In that case, you could have got two here, two rows. One is with the underscore zero for one block size, and another one will be underscore one.
So
This is depending upon
so
that.
that will follow Hadoop's default block size 128
Correct.
KB.
Correct. Okay, so like that, this is going to follow, and I will check the data. This should have wrong data, right? Because this is in year 2023, but I have loaded wrong data 24. So let's do the cat command. I will just copy this path, copy, and uh, what is the expectation? Expectation is 23 for partition. But as we did mistake, that's why I said in the static one, your analysis should be proper. Otherwise, it will also be doing wrong if you are doing wrong. It is not having understanding either I am doing wrong or right. Okay. 4 Rohit and also 4 data belongs to which partition? It was 23 or 24. I can do quickly. Check here. Stat staging 4 data belongs to 23 and 1 it is having 1122 and 4. 4 data belong to here 20. Actually data has been merged, so it will be overwrite
Yeah,
also and will not
Ram,
be
Sham, and
understood.
Rohit all are belong to
Right,
2023.
correct. No, I've loaded multiple files. No, 3 files are there, and this is common actually. So this is creating issue. Here I can even modify the file one more time. Here we have that time I could not think that I am going to do the same. So here it was 4 4 1 2 3 4. Here I can take 5 5, then 6 6. Let it make common. Otherwise it will be overwriting and you will not be getting what happened. 9 9. Now it is okay. And here uh, you can do insert. I will truncate it. Truncate. What happened? Truncate table. This is having bit difference in command from
Yes, traditional databases and this one. Yeah.
no, it's spelling mistake. Truncate table. Then we load again. Data was same, so we will not understand if that is coming by override. Now this will be having perfect data. If I will do select a start from, now it is having unique, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Yeah. Now if I will load, it will be having the proper data. I can go here and I can drop in the sense Hadoop hyphen rm rm hyphen r and delete everything. Okay, now let me try with ls command one more time. Now nothing is there. Now we can load the fresh data. Here for the static, I will run quickly one for 23. Okay, 23 data where partition equal to 23 and year equal to also 23. Insert into table static one from employee staging. Let me do one for the load command. Load data 23 data and year equal to 23. Okay, and do we have 24 data as well? So we can do for 24. Now go here and do ls command. Expectation is for both the commands 23 and 24, right? If you go inside, you will be getting the data file, whatever it has loaded. Like this. Hadoop FSLS inside 23, 23 data is there, inside 24, 24 data is there. Now let's do by loading, inserting. So for inserting, I will be loading 2022 data. So insert into table where here equal to 20. And here also let me create partition 2020 and this one. Let me load it. Then I am expecting one more partition into that static. But what is the learning here? Learning here in the sense you are managing the data. You know about the data. You are making the partition. This is a kind of manual work. Now assume that you have 100 of partition, 1000 of partition. Are you good to manage it? No, right? This will be headache for you. This is good only if you have like 10 years data, 100 years data, and out of that you have to go ahead with few one only, few selected. Then this is okay because you do not need to process the entire data. But if you have to process all the data, then you can't go with this because one thing is it will be taking lot of time. Second thing, mistakes. We are human being. We can do mistakes. Even in the 2022, even I can load 21 data maybe by mistake only, but I can be if I am doing automation also, then there will not be any mistake. But again this is going to take time because of the logical and implementation whatever we are doing. So that will be but again let's check this where we are. This is our Hadoop path. So let me do here one more listing directory. Now I am expecting, yeah, this 2020 data is there now. I can do one quickly cat command for 2020 and inside this there should be by default 6 time then underscore 0 because I have loaded from table to table, so this will not be with the file name. It should have 2020 data 5 5 and 6 6. So 5 5 and 6 6 data belong to 2020, right? Now come to dynamic table. We have the same data in staging table. I want to create the dynamic partition without any manual thought that whatever I am going to do. In that case, two things is required. One thing is dynamic table enablement. You have to enable with this property. What is the property? For that, you have to give set. And again, I will repeat, Hive is not case sensitive. You can do in either capital or small letter. This set I can type either in small or capital, doesn't matter. So set Hive dot eject dot dynamic dot partition. If I check it by default, it is Okay, it is coming as true only. So no need to set up, but I will take it true. You can check if that is false, then you have to set up. So I made it true. Then next is set hive check dynamic dot partition dot mode equal to non-strict. These are the two parameters you have to set. Non-strict. So these two I set. Now I can go for the loading. So insert syntax is here. I will load into dynamic one. Dynamic and then partition here. I will not mention any value because I want to take it automatically. Then select ID name, partition here, select ID name here. From employee, remove the filter because we do not want to filter the data. We want to go ahead with all. So in static, if you see here, I had not mentioned the column name in insert, right? Because I was mentioning the column value. So I was giving only two column name and one was the partition value. But in dynamic, I am giving the all three column name here because I am not giving any value and all. I want to take it automatically in dynamic way. So this is one thing. Now, what is expectation? Expectation is in dynamic directory, what all possible years are according to our input data. Those many folders should be created in the backend and data should be segregated accordingly. Okay, so in Hive table, by default, we are getting HDFS path in the backend, right? Tables are getting managed there, and our database is a folder internally. Our table name is also a folder, and whatever partition we are creating in backend, that is folder only. In backend, either you are creating a single partition or multiple partitions. So internally, Hive is according to its architecture, it is managing to create the folders, and inside folders, your data is getting maintained as data file. Okay, so is it done? It is loading. Let it load. Anyone has any question?
Uh, Sorry, Anamika, it's maybe related to it kind of in real life.
Mhm.
Suppose some we get the data from a different market, huge data, Parquet file, and I think it's automated. So basically, these commands have written, it is written in a script, and that should be running,
Correct.
and there should be so the process is same, and there also it is follow dynamic or static partitioning.
Again, I said it is completely based upon the requirement. Let's say you got the data and uh, just assume that you have got the data from multiple department, different departments.
Okay.
And for your requirement, you need to process only two department data. Do you like to load all the data, entire data?
No.
No, right? Because maybe that data is 10 GB, 20 GB, and your required data is only 1 GB or 2 GB, whatever you are looking for. So why you will be loading all? You can go for the static. You can create two partitions, and you can load only specific data by filtering.
Okay, but in
And
real life, whatever the file, data will be in the file, we have to load everything. Then suppose you will be doing the processing in using Spark. You aggregated this data and load into single file. Then at the end, I think the use of high pitch so that reporters or somebody who is doing the analysis, they can fetch this data in a SQL format, in SQL query. At that time, when the data is already aggregated, written in a Hadoop storage, you will create a Hive table on top of that. I'm just asking, what is the use of Hive? That is the use of Hive. Na? I'm not
Hive
going to use.
is Hive is a warehouse system in Hadoop. Okay. If you are working with the, as you said, database, let's say you are having database setup, then your data is stored there. Once you are working with Hadoop, say Hadoop system, then for tabular kind of requirement, you will not uh, get additional SQL database. That will be costly and that is not required because here you are expected to work in distributed manner. You are having GB, TB and petabytes of data and your database is not going to work in distributed manner, right? and we are coming to this Hadoop kind of platform either with cloud and all for distributed manner only, where you are having lots of data volume and you want to process by splitting the data between the resources. Hadoop Hive is going to support, because in backend this is working with HDFS, and HDFS means as soon as you are working with the data, this will be following the block size. How many blocks are getting created, that many will be, and then that will be working with different resources, not the single resource. If you are working with the database, then all the file will be getting processed with the single resource as per its configuration. Then where you are achieving that? You want to achieve parallel processing, right? And this Hadoop is going to process. Hive is internal for the Hadoop one. So this is supporting you parallel processing. This is the requirement. And again, if you are having some, let's say, dashboard kind of requirement and all, you can directly connect with the Hive. No need to go with any database and all. Whatever you want to process that and directly do the integration with any service, either internal or external. Maybe there can be some limitation, but most of the time, in most of the cases, you will be seeing that this is good to connect with all the required services, and it will be working fine.
Okay. Also, suppose if you are written a Spark script or PySpark script, can you directly fetch data from a Hive table also
Right,
along with?
right. Correct. We can create the, whenever we are creating the Spark session, then we have an option enable Hive support. Simply we have to mention that keyword. That's it. You will be good to connect with your Hive table, because these are services related, right? So some of the time we need it. So that's why this is available. Okay, so now it is loaded dynamic table. You can see what it loaded: partition, dynamic year equal to 20, 22, 23, 24. You see now by default automatically this has created, this has considered all the four partitions. It means it scanned the data internally and it got the value, and based upon the value it created the different folders, different partitions, and it is saying number of file equal to 1 and number of row 2. For 2022, number of row file 1, number of row also 1, and let me verify that very quickly, even that is correct or not. Staging table. You can see 2020, 20 is having only one record, right? 6. Okay. 22. 22 is having one, only one record. Okay. 22 is also having one record. Sorry, 20 was having number 2. 20. Okay, yeah. 20 is having two rows, 5 and 6. 22 is having single row. 23 is having 3 row, 1, 2, 3, and 24 is also having 3 row, 1, 2, and 3. So accordingly, this has aggregated the data based upon the year value. Year value is 20, 22, 23, 24. That means 4. Now let me check the uh, table. So first I will do so create table employee dynamic 1. So this is saying that partition column is where it is, partition column is year. Now let me do show partitions. So partitions employee dynamic 1. So by default this created year equal to 20, 22, 23, 24. If I want to query the data, I can do select start from, select start from table name, where wrong, select star from employee dynamic 1, where year equal to 2020. In this condition, this is not going to scan this partition, and this partition. So it will be faster because it will take care of this partition only. Let's assume that your table was not partition. In that case, this will be scanning the entire data, then it will be doing the filter. So if you have good amount of data, then that will impact the partition, impact the performance, right? So that's why partition is really very helpful, because in the real time we will always have good amount of data, and with partition we can avoid scanning unnecessary data. We will scan only whatever is required, and that can be done with the partition. Now we see that by default 4 partition is created. Let's go to HDFS directory and see even that has been followed or not. So this is our dynamic table location. Let me copy it and we'll go here and Hadoop fs ls and copy this. Uh, by default, 4 partitions should have created partition in the sense folder, and inside folder data should have been loaded. This is done, right? Let me open any of the partition. Year equal to 2024. So you can create either single partition or multiple partition. Multiple partition in the sense, let's say for year 24 or 23, we have 12-month data also, and data volume is really too good. You want to segregate data based upon the year and then based upon the month as well. Maybe after that you can think about segregating the data based upon the date as well. So you can create a number of partition, but we should not create also more partitions, because more partitions means it will be creating lots of files, and sometimes maybe result can be a small file. Again, as we have already discussed, the small file is not good for Hadoop. We should always avoid that, and if that is creating by default, then we should make sure how we can take care of that. Here, this is the 2024 data. If we want, we can do cat command and we can see.
Five zero you have mentioned. We need to mention 6 before underscore.
Mhm. Okay, so this is done. You can see the data, right? So likewise, this will be now quickly we can check. We have 10 minutes more. We were talking about ORC file and all, right? So let me create one more table. Create table employee ORC and ID int name string and year. Let's say string, and then store dash. Let me give it directly. Store dash ORC. It is done. Now let me load the data from the same. Insert into table. Employee ORC. Select star from. Select star from. So now it should load the data, and we can see the data. Our data output should be ORC. Then we'll do quickly for Parquet as well. So we discussed about this partition, right? So partition is good for data avoid data scanning then for the entire, because in the real time we will have always huge amount of data, and this will be working accordingly. And as you seen in the static table, static partition we are going to manually define. Then it needs some more care and our analysis should be proper so we can avoid mistakes. And then dynamic, automatically this will scan the data, and based upon the available value it will be creating the folders and partitions, and accordingly data will be segregated. There will be not any mistake, but some challenges can be there. What can be the challenge? Challenge can be, let's say you have countries data, you are loading the data based upon the country. There can be some countries where customers are more. There can be some countries where customers are less. Let's say we are talking about India and Nepal. They are the nearby countries. If we talk about consumers, customers and all, India will be having millions and billions, right? If we compare simply with Nepal, then that they have very less population. They are not fitting anywhere if you are comparing to India. In that case, what will happen? If your data partition is happen based upon the country name, then for the India partition, you will be getting maybe terabytes and petabytes of data file in the backend folder in HDFS path. And for the smaller countries, let's say Bhutan, Nepal and all, that will be maybe in GB only. So what will happen? Your resource wise, wherever India's data is going for the processing, that needs lots of resources because it has more data. And which is having less data, they will be also going to the resource and they will be quickly processing the entire data, because they are having a few records only. Some maybe some MB, or sometimes it can be GB, 1 GB, 2 GB or 10 GB. That will be quickly. And country which is having more population, more customers and all, that data is in terabytes and all, that can take lots of time to process. So in that case, there can be blocker. Blocker why? Because which is having less amount of data, they will be really very faster. Which is having more amount of data, they are going to take lots of time, lots of resources, and they can block the smaller data also. I need to get the output and I need to get combined output from India and Nepal. Nepal is completing its data processing in 10 minutes only, and India is taking 2 hours. Then Nepal output is also pending, because until unless India's data is processed, we will not be getting the final output. So that will be in the waiting state. And again, there can be a condition where one resources which is processing the India's data that quickly processed and it become free and it is sitting idle. And the resources which got India data to process, that has been blocked because of input and output memory, and that is not even moving ahead, not neither failing nor processing, means kind of blocker. It got blocked, it got stuck somehow because of resources issue and all. So one resource for another smaller countries, they are sitting idle because they completed their job very quickly. Now they don't have anything to process, they are sitting idle. Another side which is having more data, that is struggling to process the data with the time, blockers, input, outputs and all. So that kind of condition can come, and we say it data skewness. We had already discussed in our previous session, right? Data skewness can be there where one partition can have more, one partition can have small. Then how you can overcome from that? Again, you have some options. We will discuss that in even next sessions along with the Spark. In Spark also, we are going to discuss in detail about skewness. Whenever skewness is happening, then how you can overcome from that. Because in partition, that can be a issue, and you have to think about that as well while you are applying the partition. Okay, so for this ORC I did, let me do one for Parquet. Create Parquet. And stored as Parquet. Okay, so let it run. Anyways, I will go to the back end and I will verify the ORC one. In the meantime, Parquet will also be ready. So let me go here. Row pages. The table name is EMP ORC. Sorry, not cat command, it is ls command. Okay, so here in the ORC and Parquet, you can see that as we had mentioned the syntax while creating the table, stored as ORC, stored as Parquet. So data storage will be happening with the ORC and Parquet format. And if you will try to read, it will not be human readable. But you can again load the same data into your another table. You means you can treat that as input file format, and then you can do read and write. So you can go with that. So this is one. And if I will try to read that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let me do cat. This open, right? So this is not human readable. And simply same I will do for Parquet as well. Maybe that I have loaded. If not, it will fail because we are already loading from Hive console, right? So like this, you can go for the different file formats and all. And for partition, next day we will cover bucketing and then optimizations in Hive with some other commands. How to take care of few problems, whatever can come, you can face in the real time. And then we will start with Python. And as I had discussed, 5 days I have planned for Python, just basic Python to start with the PySpark, and then we will move ahead with PySpark. Okay. Anyone has any question, any doubt, or any input you have for me?
Just that I could not find the previous session recordings in the chat.
You are not able to access?
Not, I can even see the link. I'm not sure which group it is. Is there a
No,
different
it's
WhatsApp
in the
group?
same chat. Are you good to see the chat of this same call, whatever you have joined?
Oh,
Can you
okay,
go
in
to
the
chat?
Skype. Okay, got it.
You got it, right?
1 minute.
Do not see the today's chat. One, two chat can be dummy. I will delete that. Prior to that, you can go for just yesterday's chat.
Okay.
Let me know if you are not able to access, then I will download and I will share. What about you, Alpha? You are able to access?
Yes, I was able to access Anamika.
Okay.
I'm not sure it's still buffering for me.
No issue.
I'll
You
just
try
check and
it.
let you know later. Yeah.
And if you are not able to access, then I will download and I will share with you.
Sure, sure.
Okay, fine then. Today is Friday, right?
Yes.
Every day we'll have session from Monday to Friday.
Yeah. So let's meet on Monday then, because we will have one more session with Hive for remaining thing. and then only we can continue with Python and PySpark.
So Anamika, is it possible? Suppose every day after the session, you can take 5 minutes just to tell us what kind of question we can expect. Suppose from Hadoop or from Hive.
In the
Suppose
session also, I am telling you what kind of question will be.
okay,
Wherever I see the point that can ask, that can get the in the interview, always I focus on that point. I tried not to miss that.
sure, sure.
Like from today's session, I focused on the file formats, types of table, and optimization. Optimization means most of the time you will be getting the question, do you know what is partitions in Hive? Or question can be in the different format. Question can be in Hive, what optimizations you have used. So optimizations means they want to know you how you are working. Okay, what kind of things you are applying in your exercise. Then they are trying to ask you partitioning and bucketing, but they are not asking directly. Then you have to mention that we have lots of optimizations, but partitioning and bucketing is the basic one. That is the first step you can take. Then we have multiple many more options. Okay, and then you can continue. This is the partition. Then question can be raised. Okay, what kind of partition, and in which condition what you are going to do, or just let me know about the partitions in detail, just explaining. Then you can talk about this is dynamic partition, this is static partition. In this case, uh, we can go with this. In that case, we can go with that. You can talk about file formats. If let's say question is coming around optimization, then for optimization you can talk about file format. That okay, if I am using ORC, then my it will be having more compression about almost 75%. Then it will be optimized. Even I can use Parquet for some use cases. I can go for the ORC, or I am having this XML, JSON, text, CSV. You can talk about all that. So the from today's session, these will be the questions about file format, optimization, and types of tables. Okay.
Yes, got it. Got it.
Okay, fine then. Let's meet on Monday. And Pawan, I will think on your suggestion. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Have a good day. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.